Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll just give it a couple seconds to let a few stragglers join before we get going. Okay, so we'll get this show on the road. This webinar will cover a overview of the lab order changes for Waterford Hospital, along with any prerequisites. We'll then go into a HPM demonstration, and then there'll be time for Q&A at the end. We're joined by some colleagues from the HSE, Waterford Hospital. They're on hand to answer any questions you may have. You can send these in via the chat. There should be a tab there for questions. So if you pop them in there, we should be able to see and respond to them. And just so you know, this webinar is recorded. So if you miss anything today, you should be able to go back and watch it through. It'll be made available to you. So with that, I'll hand over to Ronan. He's
Thanks,
our
Amy.
support lead for HPM.
Perfect. I'll just share out my screen. Just bear with me for 1 second now. I'm nearly there now. Now, Damien, can you let me know if you can see my screen? You can?
Yeah, all good, Ronan.
Perfect. Okay. So just to start with, I'm just going to go through the prerequisites you need to do the lab order. Firstly, you will have gotten a letter sent out like this. Let me just open it up. It's a checklist. You'll need to go through this checklist and fill it out and send it back to Waterford. I'm presuming you will also need to send a test lab order to Waterford in advance of using it, just to make sure everything works. The next thing you'll need is to check the version of the software. This can be checked in Help and About. So if you click on Help and then About, and you should be on version 3.8.0.5 of the software. Okay, if you're not, give us a shout. We'll get you upgraded. Okay. It's worth mentioning as well that you'll also need a HealthLink certificate installed on the machine that you're sending the lab order from. So you'll need to contact HealthLink and get one of those installed. You'll also need to have a printer installed on the machine you're doing the lab order from, as HPM will give you a select printer dialog box when it's printing, but it'll be pointing to your default printer. So just to be aware of this. So we have a patient open now. So then we just go into demographics, and you can see their demographic information is populated there, their address and all that kind of stuff. And we'll just go ahead and we'll do a lab order. So in the patient tab, there's two areas where you can do the lab order. You can click on the drop down underneath exams and select lab order, or you can click on the document section and select lab order. So we'll just click on that now, and you can see there's a few there waiting. I was testing it earlier just to make sure it worked. So you just click on add down the bottom here, and you get a pop-up straight away, and you select a hospital here, and you can see there's a few options there, but you can see the University Hospital Waterford. You click on that, and it's selected lab order, and then you just click on next. It takes a couple of seconds now. It was a bit slow earlier, but it's a bit quicker now than it was. So you just pop in your clinical details here. As you can see, it's brought in all the patient demographics there. And we'll just type in some clinical details. And then if you scroll down, then you have all your options here for all the bloods that you want to take. So you just click on the hyperlink. So we just click on this. We'll click on a few. Now, excuse me now, I'm not clinically minded, so these could be odd tests to be ordering, but I'm just ordering a few. And then you scroll down here and you click on review, and you get your review section here. And here what you can do is if you've made a mistake, you can click on amend tests, or if you forgot to add one, you can click on amend tests, or if you're happy with all the tests and you're happy with all the demographic information, you click on commit order. And here it gives you a reminder of what kind of specimens that you have to provide, and you just click OK. Once you click OK on this, you get your lab order request, and as you can see, you get your print dialog, and you can print it to whichever printer you want to print it to. That's it really. Now, I just wanted to show one other thing before we go to the Q&A. If I add another lab order here, now I'm not going to send this one, But just to show you, there's a section, there's a favorite section that you can edit, which might come in handy as well. So instead of doing a lab order here, what you do is you click on Manage Favorites, and then you can create a new list, and you can select. You've obviously selected Waterford, so this will be for the Waterford lab, and we can call this test list, and then we click on Next, and we just select 3 or 4, and then click on Review, and click on Save Favorite. And then if I close that now, and if I click on, say I'm adding a lab order later on, I hit Next, we'll let it load up. And rather than clicking here and selecting all the different tests, you can select the favorite from here, and it'll have all the tests that you selected before. It'll save you. Save you selected them again. I'd say there probably would be a case that doctors might have a set of labs that they order all the time, so the favorites come in handy from that aspect of it. That's basically it. It's very straightforward and easy to use, I think. Yeah, that's me.
Okay, thank you very much, Ronan. I can see there are no questions in the chat there. We do have Elaine on the line there, and Mary from the HSC. Is there anything in particular from the two of you you'd like? Is there anything that people need to be mindful of or should be aware of?
Yeah, this is Mary speaking. It's just in terms of, this is HPM we're talking about here, so there are some new order profile codes coming back. So if you wouldn't mind explaining about the mapping process for HPM, the constituent tests are remaining the same, but the actual overarching order code for some of them will change.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So there's a mapping piece that will need to be done.
Yeah, let me just now. I'm not 100% sure if I have anything unmapped here. Just bear with me. What happened is obviously if there's some, is it order descriptions, Mary, are changing some order descriptions? Is that right?
Yeah, some order descriptions to make them unique to Waterford for the orders coming in.
No, that's perfect.
There may only be very slight changes, but it's just that it will.
Yeah,
it will flag
but you're right to mention it though, Mary, because even the slightest change obviously will it'll come in as a new exam, so you're absolutely right to mention it. So I'll run through that now. I actually have some test ones here, which is perfect. So if I go now, this is perfect. Okay, so the way HPM works is the exam names and the test names that come back from the lab are on the left-hand side, and the corresponding exam names and test names are on the right-hand side in HPM. Okay, now if it's blank on the right-hand side, it means it's not matched. Okay, so you have a couple of options there. You can search your exams in HPM to match it to the correct exam, or you can click on Add New Exam. Now, as Mary said, it's important that 99% of the time you don't do this, because if they've just slightly changed the name, what you do is you search for the name of the exam and you click Match Selected instead of Add New Exam. Otherwise, you'll end up having different exams sort of in different areas. So I know this is called, for example, this is called coagulation screen, but I know that this should be INR. So I should be able to search for INR here, and there it is. And then what you do is you click on Match Selected, and you see there, that's where it's going to go, and that's where it should go. And what it'll do is every single exam after that will be matched in the same way. So you'll only have to match each exam once. But just to be aware of it, you can be, I suppose, you might not have done this in years, you know, and then all of a sudden you're getting this pop up, and the sort of the inclination is to just click Add New Test and Add New Exam and etc. Now that will bring the tests and exams into the patient's chart, no problem, but it won't be neat and tidy. What you want to do is you want to match them to the exam and the tests that they were matched to before, even though the name has changed slightly. It'll just make it a hell of a lot cleaner. So it's just to be aware of it, that you might be getting more matching than you would usually, you know, because if they're changing the names, it'll come in as a new exam. Is that covered enough, Mary, or do you want me to go into any more detail? Or
Just to clarify one thing, in case any of them think it is a coagulation screen is more than just an INR. So a coagulation screen will map to coagulation screen. INR would
Okay.
map to INR. Just to clarify
See,
that.
that's why. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
And it's just when the testing comes for the practices that are HPM, you will encounter it when we're doing the test patients as well. So it's just to be aware of, even before you start sending live orders in, you will encounter it. So
Yeah.
most of the ones that would come in that haven't changed will, what it may say, the base code might be the same, or might be different, but the description would be more or less similar. So you'd be wondering why it won't match, but it's because the actual code itself has changed.
Okay.
So the first time a result will come back, you will be asked to do that and to map them in. And the majority, all of the stuff that would be on your page should be there existing in your system already. And it would, just to be aware of that.
No, that's perfect. That's grand.
Question number 1, do you still label blood bottles? And then secondly, is the printed list in place of old forms?
Hi, Marie. Yeah, so this is Elaine in the lab. Yeah, still label your sample, your specimen containers, your bloods, your urines, as you always have, with the patient details. And then the form will have the details printed automatically from your system. And just what was the second question there again?
It is the printed list in place of old forms?
Yeah, so we won't be using the old forms anymore. What will happen is when you select your orders through the system, the request form will print and the test selected will be on that form, but also they'll go across electronically to our system, so there'll be no requirement for us to book them in and less of a chance that they'll be missed on booking in at this side, so it makes it much more efficient.
And the other thing to say about the form is a copy of that form is actually stored within the system. So if you did have a problem when it went to print, you can actually reprint it by double clicking on the order again, and it will bring it back up.
So if you just go into lab order here and you just double click on any one of them, it'll just open up and you just have your print option here. Yeah.
And the specimen bags, for you to use, we'll be distributing them out to the GPs when we onboard you onto the electronic system. So you'll have different specimen bags to send in the containers, and there'll be a slot in the bag for the form to go into.
And the other thing is there'll be a link to Waterford's user manual on the screen. So if there are any queries about bottles, that information is also available on that link.
We just have a question there from John Farrell. Is the use of the new form mandatory?
So yeah, this is a nationally health initiative, so it will become mandatory, and we're taking it on now in the next month or so. So we'll be in touch with each practice individually and be. Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Elaine.
Yeah,
Yes, we can hear you.
we have you, Elaine. Yeah.
All right, no, just to say, yeah, this will become mandatory in the coming months. So we'll be phasing out the old paper forms, and this will be the electronic ordering will be the way to use the service here in UH.
And then John has a follow-up question there. Is Tipperary University Hospital on this new system?
So UHW is the regional lab, and so we do all the GP testing here. So this is the only hospital you'll be able to select on the GP order.com route.
Okay, no problem. And then Catherine, I can see you've said you had trouble logging in. You missed the first 10 minutes. Ronan, perhaps you just want to show how to order bloods again, if that
Sure.
didn't
Yeah.
take too long.
Yeah, no problem. So you're just in the patient's chart here. So you have two ways of doing it. You can go into exams and click on lab order, or you can click on documents and then into lab order, and that'll bring you here. And then just down the bottom, just click on add, and then you select your hospital. So you select University Hospital Waterford, and just click next. And then you verify that all the demographics are correct, and then you pop in your clinical details, and then just scroll down and select whichever exams you want to select. So we'll just select this one and this one, and then just click on review. And once you're happy with all the details there and all the tests, you can either click commit order, or if you've missed a test, you can click on amend tests. You just hit commit. It reminds you what specimens are required, and you click OK. And then you get your lab order request here and your print dialog. So you can select whatever printer you want to print out your lab order request and your barcode. And then it's actually saved in the patient's chart. So as Mary said, if it doesn't print for whatever reason, you can go back to it later and just double click it and then just click on print again. That's it really, fairly straightforward.
Can I point out one other thing too there as well? You can see that your some of the orders might be awaiting, and then they go to acknowledged.
Yeah, they
The
go to acknowledge.
the acknowledgement comes down when you download your communication.
Yeah, it comes down on the next download of HealthLink Labs, I think, doesn't it, Mary?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, just a
That's it
follow-up
really.
question there from Catherine. What happens with hospital lab requests?
They just stay acknowledged. They don't. They go to acknowledged, but there's nothing further done with them. Then the labs, there's no update after that. The lab just goes straight into the patient's chart, and it'll be in tasks and exam management to for review as normal, to be managed by the doctor.
Okay. If there's no further questions, I think we can wrap it up there. See if any come through. Catherine's got one more question.
And just while Catherine's typing the question, there will be a list of FAQs. They will be circulated as well. And there are SOPs for how to use the systems also up on the HealthLink web page. And there's it runs through them there as well. So if anybody's looking for additional information on how to do stuff.
And we'll be sending out information on how to set up the test patient for the validation step to all the practices as well. So we'll be in touch in the coming weeks with everybody with that and with specific instructions as well for UHW.
Okay, so Catherine's question is, sometimes I have Dublin hospitals with special requests. I have to ring the lab to find out if we can do them, or what department to send the lab to as not on your website. What happens then?
I'm presuming, Catherine, that these are specialised referral tests that we would send out from here. So for the moment, continue as you have been for those. And if you can't find it on our user manual, you should get in touch with the lab as you have been. But also just to note, on the order pages there, you have an order not listed function. So if it is something that isn't on the menu there, like for instance, calcium isn't available just yet, it is coming, and you want to ask for calcium on a patient, you go to the order not listed and just type in calcium. But that's more run of the mill test. But if it's something out of the ordinary, more for a specialised referral to Dublin, then you'd need to check the user manual and make sure you're sending in the correct sample type, and the stability of the sample will have to come into play as well.
And just one more question there. When is this to start?
Well, we're live at the moment with a few pilot sites and it's gone very well. So we'll be onboarding practices in the coming weeks now. So we'll be in touch with you all individually, like by the end of February, mid-March. We should hope to have a lot of you on board.
Okay, I think we can wrap it up there. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. Just so you're aware, this webinar was recorded, so the video will be made available to you. And if you missed anything, then you can watch it at your own leisure. But thanks again for joining. Thank you.
Thanks a million. Bye bye.
Thanks, everybody.